Hi, students, and welcome to day 2 of our 2-day review before our Unit 4 test on linear equations. We do have a do now, as always, and we're going to talk about recalibrating our goals. Our objective today is to have our second day of review, and our essential question is, as yesterday, how can I put all this together and retain the information I've learned from this unit, and how can I best prepare for a high school math exam, which is what this is. This is very much like the types of tests you will get in high school. Our assignment, as we watch the video, is to work problems 18 through 33, but we will skip the problems on line of best fit because we are skipping that topic for now. Be prepared to ask any remaining questions you have before the test tomorrow. And I want you to go back and revise whatever you decided was your study plan yesterday. After today, you might want to revise that a little bit and study different topics. So let's get started. We want to, the more your camera's on, the better your grade. You know that. You earn those bonus points. Also respond when your name is called at the beginning, middle, and end of the period. So I'm not going to have you submit your assignment. I really want you to spend time studying, so we're going to omit that today. Friday is our next Spirit Day. That would be Whaler Pride Day, so we're your green and your gold. We've got our test coming up. We have a few people doing alternative assignments. Today we'll start using our whiteboards a little bit too as we work. So let's get started. So we have an intention today, something to be guided by, and here we're being guided by simplicity. What can I do to simplify my schoolwork routine? Are mental and physical clutter impacting my school success? And I see this all the time with students, and I've experienced it myself, where you just can't get started because you can't focus because you got too many things around you or too many ideas in your head or things that are distracting you. And we can all only do things one at a time. So like right now we're doing our preparation for our exam. And if you really focus well on this and ignore the phone, ignore everything else, you will do better. I would like you to respond to this. So write something down in Teams right there. So, and there's our Spirit Day calendar. The next one is Friday, Whaler Day, Whaler Pride, wear the green and gold. And let's continue where we left off. We finished yesterday through number 17. So now we're on 18 and 19, writing linear equations where we are given a point and slope, or we could be given 2 points. So number 18, we're given a point, -4, -7, and we're given a slope. That's where we're going to use the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So we're going to call this our x1 and y1, and here's our m. So this is really a simple substitution, and when we solve this equation for y, we will have a linear equation in slope-intercept form. So let's start. So we have y minus -7, which is +7, equals 3 times the quantity of x minus -4, which is x plus 4. And we distribute. Y plus 7 equals 3x plus 12. We subtract 7 from both sides. And we have our slope-intercept form of the linear equation y equals 3x plus 5. Number 18 is the exact same type of problem, but we're dealing with a fraction. That's not a big deal to us now. So we will have y plus 9, because it's y minus -9, subtracting a negative is adding a positive, equals -5/4 times the quantity of x minus 8. So y plus 9 equals -5/4 x, and 5/4 or negative 5/4 times a negative 8. Well, this is a pretty easy one. So we put it over 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10. So 5/4 x plus 10. Okay, it's just a little sidebar to evaluate that fractional portion of the problem. Now I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, and I have y equals negative 5/4 x plus 1, and that's a final answer. So let's move on to number 20. In this case, we are given 2 points. So first we have to find slope using the slope formula, and then we will evaluate using one of those points and the slope that we find in our first step. So we have our x1, y1, and our x2, y2. So m equals negative 2 minus negative 9, which is negative 2 plus 9. 4 minus a negative 3, which is 4 plus 3, which equals 7/7, which equals 1. So our slope equals 1. So let's use this point right here. So y minus negative 9 is y plus 9 equals 1 times the quantity of x minus negative 3, which is plus 3, and we distribute, which really distributing the 1 has no real effect because it's distributing anything times 1 is itself, that's a positive 1. So y plus 9 equals x plus 3. We subtract 9 from both sides, and y equals x minus 6. Number 21, first we have to find slope. This will be our x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals negative 5 minus 7 divided by 6 minus a negative 2, which is 6 plus 2. And that will be negative 12 over 8, which we can reduce to negative 3/2. So our slope is negative 3/2. Now we use the point slope formula. I'll use this first point right here. Y minus y1, which is 7, equals negative 3/2 times the quantity of x minus negative 2, which is x plus 2. We distribute the negative 3/2, so that would be y minus 7 equals negative 3/2 x. And let's make a sidebar over here. I'll change the color. So we've got negative 3/2 times 2, and you can put the 2/1. Easily cancel those 2's because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's going to give us a quantity of negative 3. So minus 3. Okay, now we add 7 to both sides of the equation. Y equals negative 3/2 x, and negative 3 plus 7 is plus 4. Now we're on to parallel and perpendicular lines, and just as a reminder, it says describe the slopes of parallel lines. They have the same slope. And let's describe the slopes of perpendicular lines. they have the negative reciprocal slope. Should use the word A there, I think. They have a negative reciprocal slope. And another way to remember negative reciprocal slope is opposite sign and fraction flipped. Now, number 24. Which line is parallel to 5x minus 2y equals 18? So we need to put this standard form equation into slope-intercept form so that we can find out which line is parallel to it. I'm going to use our scrap paper. So we've got 5x, and this is problem number 24. So we have 5x minus 2y equals 18. First, we'll subtract 5x from both sides, which gives us negative 2y equals negative 5x plus 18. Everything will be divided, all three terms, by negative 2. So I can isolate y, and I will have y equals negative divided by negative is a positive. So y equals 5 over 2x minus 9. So this is the equation we're dealing with. And we want to know if the one of those four choices, A, B, C, or D, is parallel to y equals 5 over 2x minus 9. And we're looking here for a slope of 5 over 2, because if it's parallel, it will have the same slope. So if we just look at them, it's pretty easy to tell. A is out because the slope is not 5 over 2, so that goes. As well as B, because the slope is negative 2 over 5, that's not the same. C works, but just let's check through D as well. The problem with D is this negative sign. So negative 5 over 2 is not the same as positive 5 over 2. So D is out as well. So our correct answer is C. So now for number 25, we're looking for a line that's perpendicular to y equals negative 3x plus 2. Well, it's already written in slope-intercept form, so we have a slope of negative 3. Well, what we need is a slope of opposite perpendicular, right? So we need the fraction flipped and the sign opposite. So that would be a positive. Instead of, we can think of this as 3 over 1, it would be a positive 1/3. So we need m to equal a positive 1/3. So we need to convert each of these into slope-intercept form, and let's see which one ends up with a slope of positive 1/3. So number 25, we have to convert each one of these, A, B, C, and D. So A, 3x plus y equals 4. So first I subtract 3x from each side, and that gives me y equals negative 3x plus 4. Well, I'm looking for a slope of 1/3. So A is out. Let's look at B. X plus 3y equals 24. So I'll subtract x from each side, which will give me 3y equals negative x plus 24, and then I'll divide everything by 3 because I need to isolate the y, which will give me y equals negative 1/3 x plus 8. And negative 1/3 is not the slope I'm looking for, so B does not work. So let's try C, 3x minus y equals 5. And we'll subtract 3x from each side. Negative y equals negative 3x plus 5. We still need to divide everything by negative 1 because we need y isolated from that negative sign. So we'll divide all three of these terms by negative 1. And we will have y equals 3x minus 5, okay, negative divided by negative is positive, so negative 3 divided by 1, negative 1 is a positive 3, and then positive 5 divided by negative 1 is a negative 5. So we need a slope of 1/3. C does not work. So the last one we'll try is D, x minus 3y equals 3. So we'll subtract x from both sides. And we have negative 3y equals negative x plus 3. Now we'll divide everything, all three terms, by negative 3. And that gives us y equals, look at this, negative divided by negative is a positive. This is an invisible 1 here. So y equals 1/3 x. And this is minus 1. Negative 3, positive 3 divided by negative 3 is minus 1. It does not matter what the b value is. What matters is the 1/3, the slope of 1/3. That's what we needed to have a perpendicular line. So in fact, D is correct. Okay, D gives us y equals 1/3 x minus 1. That 1/3 slope is what we need to be perpendicular to the slope of negative 3 in the given problem. So let's move on to number 26. We need to write an equation that is parallel to y equals negative 4x plus 5 and passes through the point negative 2, 1. So in this case, we have a point, negative 2, negative 1, and we have a slope of negative 4. And we got that from this. There's our slope. So let's use the point slope formula because what we have is a point and a sample point and the slope. So y minus negative 1, which is y plus 1, equals the slope, negative 4, times the quantity of x minus negative 2, which is x plus 2. Now we distribute the negative 4 through. Y plus 1 equals negative 4x minus 8. We subtract 1 from each side. And we have y equals negative 4x minus 9. And that is our final answer. And then number 27, we're going to write an equation that is perpendicular to 3x minus 5y equals 5 and passes through the point 9, negative 14. We don't know what the slope is yet of this. So we've got a couple things we have to do. First, this is in standard form. We're going to put that in slope-intercept form because we've got to find out what the slope is of this equation. So 3x minus 5y equals 5. Subtract 3x from each side. And then we have negative 5y equals negative 3x plus 5. We still need to divide all three terms by negative 5 in order to isolate the y. And when we do that, we will have y equals negative divided by negative is a positive. So y equals a positive 3/5 x minus 1. So our slope ends up being 3/5, 3/5. Now, if we're looking for a perpendicular line, what we need is a slope of, that's the negative reciprocal. So we're going to go ahead and take this, and we're going to find the negative reciprocal, which is the fraction flipped and the sign switched. So that would be -5/3. So let's go ahead and take this -5/3, and let's use this point here in the point slope formula. So we have y minus -14, which is y plus 14, equals -5/3 times the quantity of x minus 9. And first we distribute. Y plus 14 equals -5/3 x, and -5/3 times -9 is a positive 15. And now we will subtract 14 from each side so that we can isolate that y, and we have y equals -5/3 x plus 1. And that's our final answer. Now, the next group of problems, we said we would skip those, so we're not going to do 28, we're not going to do 29, but we will do the rest of them. We'll do 30, 31, 32, and 33, and then our work will be done. So, Marianne is printing pictures from her recent trip to Europe. An online print shop charges 15 cents for a 4x6-inch print, along with a flat rate shipping charge of $3. So we see this per, that's our M. If Marianne has $35 to spend, how many prints can she order? So what we need to do first, I can identify this as a slope-intercept problem. We have a slope, which is our M, which is 0.15. We also have a starting point. We have a flat rate of $3. So that will be our B, our y-intercept, so to speak, is $3. So we can say that y equals 0.15x plus 3. So I've got those zeros there because I'm dealing with money. So that's the that is our slope-intercept problem, okay? If this problem were to say write and solve an equation, that would be the first step. That is our equation that we start with. Now, we've got this added piece where Marianne has $35 to spend. So how many prints can she order? Well, this is a y value. $35 equals 0.15 times however number of prints. So the x is the number of prints and we need to solve for x when we have a total of $35 in order to find out how many prints she can get. So what we do is we set this problem equal to $35, the amount of money she has. 35 equals 0.15 x plus 3. Now, the first thing we need to do is subtract 3 from each side of the equation, because ultimately we need to isolate that x. So that gives us 32 equals 0.15x. Now we just need to divide each side of this equation by 0.15 so that we can isolate x. And when we do that, x will equal, we're going to get an irrational number. We're going to get 213.3. That goes on and on. Now, the thing to recognize when you have this kind of a problem, ultimately, what was the question asked? The question was, how many prints? You cannot buy a part of a print, okay? So we're going to drop the 0.3. How many prints or pictures? She can buy 213 pictures or prints. And always be mindful when you have a problem that involves like people, how many meals, how many tickets, something that cannot be divided in half. You're not going to have a half a person or a half of a movie ticket or half of lunch. You're going to have to round as appropriate. Okay. And to know whether you go up or down, that's very specific to each problem. So in this case, usually you're going to round down. You say, how many people can fit in the phone booth? Well, you're not going to put a half a person, so you're going to round down. But sometimes problems are worded differently, and you're just going to have to feel that out intuitively. Just read your problems carefully and do what makes sense. Okay, so number 31, looks like we have a slope and a sample point here because it says at Smith Mountain Lake Boat Rentals. Oh, here we go with the boats again. It costs $25 an hour to rent a pontoon boat, plus a one-time charge for cleaning. The Bengal family rented a boat from 11 to 6:30 p.m. They paid $226.50. Now, if the Jones family rented a boat from 8 to 1 p.m., how much did they pay? So the sample point we have is the Bengal family information. Okay, they've rented 11 to 6:30. Well, how many hours is that? From 11 to 6:30 is 7.5 hours. So the point is 7.5, comma, and then this amount of money they paid, $226.50. So that's our sample point. What's our slope? $25 per hour. That's our clue. So our M equals 25. So we've got 7.5 hours for $226.50. So let's insert that information into the point slope formula. So this is our x1, y1. So y minus y1, which is $226.50. I can take the zero off just while I do my math. I'll have to rethink that when I show my answer, maybe. Equals the slope, 25 times x minus the 7.5, the 7.5 hours. Now we distribute. Y minus 226.5 equals 25x, and 25 times 7.5, negative 7.5, right, is going to be negative 187.5. Now I add 226.5 to each side of the equation so that I can isolate y, and y equals 25x plus 39. So remember it said here, if the Jones family rented a boat from 8 to 1, how much did they pay? Well, this formula is going to help us get there. Okay, so what we need to do is first figure out how many hours from 8 to 1. That's 5 hours. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 5 hours. So that's our x. So let's just make a simple substitution. It's easy from here on in. 25 times 5 plus 39. And 25 times 5 is 125 plus 39 makes 164. So y equals, and this is money now, $164. And that's how much the Jones family paid to rent that pontoon boat for 5 hours. All right, number 32, this is a 2-point problem. Clint is in study hall reading Hunger Games. After 20 minutes, he's on page 151. That's our first point. After 45 minutes, he's on page 181. That's our second point. Fast reader. How many pages had Clint read prior to study hall? We're looking for his initial starting place at the beginning of the day. First, we need to find the slope. Then we'll take the slope and one of these points, I think I'll use the first point and put it in the point slope formula. But first we find slope. So m equals, so we've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals 181 minus 151 divided by 45 minus 20, which simplifies to 30 over 25. Both of those are divisible by 5, so that simplifies to 6 over 5. So our m equals 6 over 5. Now, point slope formula. Y minus y1, which will be 151, equals 6 over 5 times the quantity of x minus 20. Now we'll distribute that. Y minus 151 equals 6 over 5, 6/5 x. 6/5 times negative 20 is negative 24. So now we will add 151 to each side of this equation so that I can isolate y, and I have y equals 6 over 5 x plus 127. Okay, halfway there, maybe more than halfway there. So now we've got a formula that will help us when we want to figure out where did he start at the beginning. Now, another thing to be mindful of, when we're looking for an initial, when we're looking for progress, and we have to start with an initial value. So how many pages did he read at the beginning? How much money was in the bank before we started making a deposit every month? Okay, when we look at that kind of information, our initial value is 0. So our substitution here for this x is going to be 0 because we want to know where was he before he went to study hall. So this is pretty simple at this point. Y equals 6/5 times 0, which pretty much washes that out, plus 127, which means that y equals 127. So he had read before he went to study hall 127 pages. So always look for whether your initial value should be a 0 when you do these problems. And finally, our last problem of today, Elena is selling wreaths and poinsettias for her choir fundraiser. Wreaths cost $27 each, poinsettias cost $20 each. We are relating two items. We've got wreaths at $27, poinsettias at $20. This is a standard form equation problem. So if she sold 15 poinsettias and made $543, how many wreaths did she sell? So let's define x and y. That's what we do with a standard form equation problem. So x will be our wreaths, and y will be our poinsettias. So how much wreaths cost? $27. So $27 times the number of wreaths plus $20 times the number of poinsettias equals this amount that she made, $543. So that's the formula that we're going to work with. So if she sold 15 poinsettias, okay, we're going to substitute y. and solve for x. So 27x plus 20, and we're solving for 15 poinsettias, times 15 equals 543. And we'll evaluate 20 times 15. 27x plus 20 times 15 is 300, equals 543. Subtract 300 from each side of this equation. And 27x equals 243. And then divide both sides of the equation by 27 so that we isolate x. And x equals 9. 243 divided by 27 is 9. So how many wreaths did she sell? 9 wreaths. So revise your study plan. Practice these problems some more. Make sure to ask questions. I will be available after school for extra help. Just keep practicing and practicing. Okay, no other homework than to study and practice tonight. And the more you do it, the better you'll get, and you'll be great.